Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite Dark Sorcerer here, Michael Hyson. And today I'd like to discuss the third aspect of witchcraft and how it is perceived from the white light traditions. And that is divination. Okay? What is divination? Divination is a set of root workings and guidelines that allow you to work with spirits, be it the Ugan, the Loa, the demons, the angels, the Jinn. Okay, and it's interesting because there's so many different techniques, so many different divination tools that we use as dark sorcerers. Even pagans and Wiccans do this to a point, or I should say, to an extent. The white lighters really don't get into this on a professional belly flop type aspect. Now I know what you're thinking, trying to figure out how you do a belly flop with, divination. Well, think of it this way. The old expression of when you peer into the abyss eventually peers back at you. Okay? When you start scrying or you start conjuring spirits, or at least attempting to, be it through seals, sigils, be it through runes, herbalism, okay, through any of the techniques that is known today within the occult communities, such as a pendulum. A pendulum is simply a small little device attached to a string, okay? In this case, you have to ask it numerous times the same question, okay? Is it left or right? Is it straight ahead? Whatever. And you have three answers. Maybe, which is where it doesn't make up its mind. Yes and no. Okay. Plain and simple. A pendulum is the most basic tool that you can use. And yes, you can even use it to find your lost car keys or a toy for your 2-year-old if you really want to go to that extreme. You can even use it as a teaching tool to teach your kids how to locate things. Okay. It is one of those basic harmless tools that is so, how should I say this, not routine, but more rotary is the best way I can describe it as, is because of the fact that it has no harmful connections or connotions to harm anybody. It's just simply asking questions and getting a yes or a no. Do you remember the old cube ball, the Magic 8 ball that we used as kids? Back when Toys R Us was actually a corporation that was flourishing before it went out of business. Maybe KB Toys or some other kid place where you can get one of these little balls and you ask it a question after shaking it. Okay. And it says yes, maybe, ask again later, or just plain flat out no. Okay. That is basically the same harmless questions and answers that you can get from a pendulum. It is that simple. Once you get the understanding of what it is, you can start off simply by moving it around in a circle, either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to find. Okay, and it's really funny because of the fact that once you get the basic of it and you understand and you say, okay, if it goes to the left, that's yes. If it goes to the right, no. If it stays in the center or goes back and forth type thing, it's a maybe. Okay. Or better yet, ask again later. So it really is the most basic and simplistic tool that a sorcerer can use. Okay, even a witch or a warlock, whatever title you go by, you can do this. Okay. Now the next step is a system that's been around since the 11th century, and it's known as cartomancy. Cartomancy is, by more modern day terminology, known as tarot card readings. Okay. You can look this up. It's actually Cartomancy. Okay. It is the most simplistic tool for spiritual communication. Okay. Second only to that of the pendulum. It's easy to understand, easy to learn, and easy to work with. But like the pendulum, you have to repeatedly cast the cards. Okay. Look for commonalities. Look for the most popular cards that keep popping up. And then try to figure out, okay, these are the cards that keep coming up. Why are they coming up? And in what fashion? Are they in the shadow aspect or the light aspect? Okay. Because there is both the light and the dark. But it all comes down to the type of deck that you have. Some are oracle decks. Some are simply like the fallen angel deck or that of the demonic, the demon tarot card deck. Okay. Others have a very simplistic understanding or rudimentary uh, meaning behind the cards, like the white deck. Okay. Or that of, say, for an example, the Necromyicon deck by Donald Sutherland. Very, very simplistic to understand. Others, you have a huge, like, let's go with the vampiric deck. Okay, one of my favorite decks is by Daniels. Okay, it's a vampiric deck. It's based off emotional replies and emotional understandings. Now, Ian Daniels really created this in a perfect setting for emotional stability or instability. And what it is you have the essence. Consider the essence as a light aspect to the card's overall meaning. Okay. And then you have the message. Okay. The message of what that card or that particular card is trying to get across to you. But then you have the Q&A, the most commonly asked questions, all before you get to the shadow aspects of the card's meaning. Okay. But also, you also got decks that have different meanings, like, say, chalice versus cups, wands versus scepters. Okay. Swords instead of knives. Okay. These are just minor differences between the decks, the different names, the root of, the basic naming of the cards or that specific suit. Okay. There are 4 suits to any given deck. Okay. Every type. In this case, you have you have scepters, skulls, knives, and what is it? Wands, I think, if I remember correctly. No, grails. Grails is the other one. Okay. And then outside of that, these are all the minor arcana cards. Okay. And like most decks, you also have what is known as the major arcana. The major arcana is really the understanding of what you, as the individual practitioner, is trying to relate to. Okay. It's your perceived perception of the overall situation to which you are inquiring about. So, in this case, it is very simplistic to understand, especially once you get to understand the basic meanings of each individual card. Now, One of the basic things you learn when you start doing tarot card for clients is if the devil card or that of, say, the hangman, maybe the death card, comes up, depending on, what type of deck you have, your clients are going to wonder, oh my God, am I going to die? Am I going to hell? And you gotta go, no, no, no. It's just the meaning. It's the image of the card, and it's just a name on the card. You know, and it's funny because it's like taking the tower card. The tower card resembles life and death. For things to be created, you have to destroy them, right? Well, think of the lover's card compared to the devil's card. They're very similar in nature, just different meanings. Okay, and it's best to explain these cards in a almost like a story. Think of a children's story, but more for adults to understand. Okay, very simplistic, very easy to understand. Okay, but a lot of people refer to it as tarot cards. Okay, a tarot deck, when in reality it is actually known as cartomancy. And like I said, it goes all the way back to the 11th century. It started out with a deck of cards. Ironically, just your average playing cards. Kind of like you were playing solitaire or Texas Hold'em. That type of cards. It didn't really start getting popular until around the 16th century when Arthur Edward White, all going all the way forward to Crowley, and more modern day with these practitioners creating new decks of cards. Okay. Now, Angel Ray Vega. I was just reading down through some of these posts as well while I'm talking. So I was kind of doing a couple of things at once. Okay, about four things, but still. Um, Angel Ray Vega says, I was asking too many questions about my target until finally my last question I drew, Beelzebub, and yeah, LOL. Well, okay, first of all, when you do any form of cartomancy, you really want to ask a singular question. Kind of get to the root of your question and what you're trying to do. Okay. For an example, if you're looking for, say, let's go with the most overall basic human need, a mate. Okay. But yet you're rejected at every turn. Okay. How can you get around this? Well, do numerous different tarot card reads. Okay. Cartomancy reads. Just do numerous ones. See the commonalities. But instead of going, well, how do I get a woman in my life? Or how do I get a good guy in my life? Okay, depending if you're female or male. Okay, and whatever you're into. Okay. The best thing to do is to dub it down. Okay. Instead of saying, how do I get somebody into my life? You should ask more curiously, what is preventing me from getting a woman into my life? Or, say, for an example, that of a guy. Okay. Simplistic thinking. Think of it as more as strategic. Okay. A lot of people, in my experience, has that outlook of it's not me, it's you. Okay. It's you, not me. Okay. It's all about you. You're fucking up. You're ignoring me. It's, why are you denying me? Okay, why are you hating on me? Why are you doing this to me? Me. Okay, but if you sit there and you approach the spirits in that way, they're basically going to sit back and laugh at you. Okay, or they're just not going to have anything to do with you, and you're going to get only a quarter of a reading. So the best thing to do is to look at it and say, well, what is preventing me from doing this, to achieving my goals? Okay. what do I have to do to get into this type of relationship? Or how do I end an enemy? Okay, this type of enemy. Okay. In your case, you were asking too many questions about a target. Okay. But instead of saying, well, how do I eliminate this person? Or why is this person still around? Look at it as, how do I deal with this individual? Okay. Is it the way I went around it or about it? Is it how I approach the ritual? Was it something in the ritual that was not completed or added onto? You see what I'm saying? If you look at it in a more positive spin and look at it as, how do I do it? Or what did I miss? And you're sitting there you're shuffling 3 times, you're doing the bridge 3 times, and as you're doing it, you're thinking of yourself as a conduit between them and the deck. Okay. So they're working through you and through the deck. You're just a tool to shuffle. Okay. And as you're doing it, petition them. I call upon, say, Astaroth or Asmodeus. Maybe, oh, I don't know, let's go with Abaddon, the Destroyer, or Samael, the Venom, Azrael, the Angel of Death. Okay. Whatever being that can help you, okay, achieve your goal in what you're doing. Okay. If you're going through a mother's situation, work with Naama, maybe Isis, Freya, maybe Bridget. Okay. But if you're going through hatred and death, if you want to destroy an enemy, call on the agents of death, like, say, Anubis, Supe, Hades, Hecate, she's the goddess of necromancy and the dead, goddess of justice. One of my favorite tactics is simplistic. Okay. I look at Hecate, okay, goddess of witchcraft, ghosts, the underworld, okay, who is also the goddess of necromancy, death, okay. But here's another kicker: she's also the goddess of justice, okay, the goddess of justice. So I would add her with Osiris, the god of iniquity, okay. Now, a lot of people, when they think iniquity, okay, iniquity, they think finances, the gold versus the feather. Am I too greedy for that feather? But no, when we talk iniquity and when he discusses iniquity, it's more about the guilt of either yourself or that individual that you're targeting. Okay. Yes, you can use the gods of death, such as Azrael or Abaddon, maybe Subnuk or Samael. Okay. Alistar, the executioner. Okay. There's so many different applications that you can bring into play, but it's how you approach cartomancy in this particular way that would benefit you. But instead of asking so many questions, stick to one, maybe two. Okay. Break it down into, say, a 2-point question. Okay. Like, say, what is preventing me from eliminating my enemy? And what is it going to take to eliminate my enemy? Okay. Or if you're going with Hecate and Osiris, I would say, well, let's say, for an example, I would go with, while I'm shuffling the cards and petitioning these gods to come and answer my questions, I would say, okay, how would, or better yet, I would go, I have been wronged by so and so. I ask for you, Hecate, to come forth and show me how to present justice for the injustice done to me. Okay. But at the same time, I would add the second portion of it and say, and I also petition you, Osiris, God of iniquity, okay, to weigh my enemy's guilt, okay, weigh his iniquity and find him guilty for his crime against me or my client, okay. You see how going up against one of these deitas is much better showing humbleism, and you're going to get a lot better respond to it, so that you may deliver this message to me through this deck of cards. Okay, simplistic thinking, and then on the third and final shuffling in bridge, thank them. Thank them for taking the time to come from wherever they are and do what needs to be done. Okay. And what's interesting is that this is not the only tool that you can use. Okay. Runes are symbols. Okay. They're known all over the world, from Greek to Slavic, Balk to Gaelic, Icelandic, Scandinavian, Germanic. Okay. This stuff goes all the way back to Proto Germanic. Okay. Scandinavian. Okay. But it goes far beyond that. Okay, you go back into the ancient Gaelic Druidism. Everything used to be spoken from master to apprentice, but that was lost. A lot of things didn't start getting written until books were written, till we ended up with scribes. Only then did things start getting recorded. Runes. There's a lot of good interpretations of runes. Now, there's a guy on YouTube that his name is Edgar something or other. I can't remember his last name, but he's a Norse warlock, and he's very, very knowledgeable. Now, he even states that everybody has their own interpretation of how to pronounce these runes. Okay, and it's true. Even today, you have so many different types of runes that have been created. You have the witches' runes, the Norse runes. Okay, but then you get different gems like bloodstone, rubies, sapphires that have rune symbols on them. But what if I told you that these runes are not only divination tools, but they're also a language in themselves? What if I told you that a lot of these runes can be traced back to not just to the witches' runes, which is Theban, or that of Celestial, or Enochian even? What if I told you that they go all the way back to the Hellgate system, which is of the Chaldean Empire, which predate Canaanite, which is now modern day Beirut in Lebanon? Didn't see that coming, did you? There is languages old. You got ancient Aramaic, ancient Sumerian, Proto-Germanic. Okay, I'm gonna just put something out here real fast. I was at work one afternoon last week, and we had a guy fixing the espresso machine at work. Okay, what's interesting to note is he turns around out of the blue and says, "Does anybody understand German?" And of course, I had just wrapped up with a customer at the window, so I turn around and I say, "Which variation? Proto, low, medium, high, modern?" He just looked at me like something Spock out of Star Trek would do. Okay, you got to understand, there's not just different dialects within any given culture. Okay, you have numerous different languages, linguistics that are derived from various different regions of the world that have their own unique interpretations of these symbols. Okay, that we now call runes or runic alphabets. Okay, there is so much that plays into it that a lot of practitioners today don't really delve into. They accept what they're taught. And normally it's either the Theban, Celestial, the Malcolm, the Knives, or Enochian. This is what everybody seems to go by, not just the Norse runes. They don't delve into history and actually take it back as far as they can. Okay? And that's the thing. A man who does not learn from history is doomed to repeat it. We live in a time where information is right here, at our fingertips. Why not use it? Are you afraid of what you might find? That everything you've been told up until now may turn out to be a lie? You see my point. Most people, when they get into a practice, they stick to a style, a tradition. They don't go beyond this. Okay? So when we get into things like runes, the casting of the runes is very simplistic. You shake them and you toss them like you would a pair of dice. You start at the furthest and you work to the closest. You interpret each one. Those that are face down don't have to give two shits about. You don't have to care about those. You only have to read the ones that are up facing you. Okay? There is no shadow aspect, there is no light aspect. It is so simplistic that all you have to do is start at the end and work close to you. Okay? Furthest to closest. That's it. Plain and simple. Okay? The more mediumship level type of divination is something that just about everybody is aware of, and that is called a Ouija board, also described as a talking board. Okay? A talking board or Ouija board is used for spiritual conjuration, but it's one of those ones that if you do not know what you're doing, you can get into a lot of hot water. You need to understand these other systems of divination before you can even begin to attempt this. Think of it as getting into a state of seership without actually building up the mental capacity for defensive magic. Same exact thing. The only difference is a Ouija board, you're opening a portal and you can ask for any one of your ancestors, spirits, or even those of former practitioners to come forth. But it does not mean that you're going to get them. Okay? I've seen it a lot of times where these individuals come in, they're rookies, they really don't know what they're doing, and they think it would be cool to either do it in a dark room or out into the middle of nowhere. Okay, let's say a graveyard, an abandoned church, because they think it's cool. It's something out of Hollywood produced propaganda. I mean, hell, these things are passed out at children's stores as toys for children. And then parents wonder, why is there so much issues here? Electrical disturbances, things disappearing or being moved. I had a friend of mine a few years ago. She really didn't understand the spiritual world, but she was into it. She had used a Ouija board about 15 years prior with a friend of hers that passed away soon after. Here I am, I move in with her. I had just gotten back to the state, and I'm sitting there on the couch, and all of a sudden I turn to her and I say, I describe this person, this woman, down to I'm talking right down to the very dress that she died in, the way she had her hair, just out of the blue. She looked at me with this pale look like, holy fuck. You just nailed somebody that I knew 15 years ago that has been dead for about 14 and a half years. 14 and a half years. Okay? It's not a kid's toy. If they operate one of these things, it can get them in a lot of hot trouble. Number one, demonic possession. Number two, hauntings. I had a kid, a friend of a friend, 3 a.m. on the dot every single morning. 3 a.m. She would come, they would wake up to this kid screaming, marks on this kid's body. Could not explain it. But yet, when every time the aunt came in, this thing would attack the aunt. It did not like her. There was something about her. I went in and had to do a complete exorcism, reverse it. Turns out they had thought it was a kid's game. They bought it at a store in the kids department. Not joking. They destroyed it. When you work with a Ouija board and do it in numbers, all of you have a unique purpose, being in the same goal, but you're opening that portal to discuss or to call forth a specific being. A lot of times people think, well, let's just open it up and just say, hey, who's there? Who wants to talk to me? That's how you get your ass in a sling. When you do a Ouija board, number one, you want a photo of an individual. You want some form of article, hair, that is connected to that individual that you're trying to call forth. You want that link to be strong. Blank slates in the participants' minds, so that when the spirit comes forth to move the planchette, it's unbiased. It's not a game. And when you move beyond this aspect and you've mastered this, then you can get into more transverse ideologies, such as mediumship. And that can be broken down into numerous different levels. You have those of conjurers. Conjurers are those who actually can see, or can bring forth spirits. When you think of this, you think necromancers, the Grand Grimoire, for an example. You type in necromancy on Google, you're going to see two clergy, a clergy and an apprentice, standing in a circle. In front of them, the triangle of evocation, a griscus bag of smelly herbs, and a spirit standing right there in a graveyard. Truth is, you can do this stuff anywhere, a crossroads, such as in hoodooism or voodoo. Even in black magic, a lot of spirits, you can go to a crossroad or even create a crossroad, a gigantic plus sign, and begin right there at the very center and conjure a spirit. If you have a box, a dabak box, okay, spirit box. A lot of times, an offering of certain things can be put in there, certain herbs and plants, oleums, an offering and a request to bring or to tempt a spirit to come forth. In this case, conjuration is petitioning spirits to come forth. And it's completely different from seership, because a seer is a natural person who can naturally align themselves with the spiritual energies, be it the demonic, be it the angelic, be it former reincarnated souls, disincarnate to be precise. And yes, I mean disincarnate. I'm talking about the dead witches, warlocks, your own ancestors who have perished in past centuries that you can conjure to bring forth, that you can physically see. I've known people who can walk past a cemetery and do you see that woman in white? Do you see that pale man, that pale woman? Do you see that outfit on that individual? Or they'll simply start up a conversation and nobody's there. That's because they're in tune with those energies, that current, so that they can commune with the dead. That is what a seer can do. A medium, when we think mediums, we think people like Sylvia Brown, one hell of a gifted psychic. She can pick things up that would make you blush. I never had the honor of meeting her face to face, and I wish I did. But what I can tell you is that she predicted what's going on today. Just like Nicodemus through chiromancy, not only predicted the advancements in the last 100 years, but also certain individuals like Adolf Hitler, 9/11, even. You go underneath his prophecies and you're going to see them. He predicted over 2,000 things, but only to date, a small handful of things have actually come true. And a lot of people call him a fraud. They call him just a children's story, a myth out of the biblical account between him and Jesus Christi. Okay? Jesus Christ. When in reality, he actually was a philosopher and a practitioner. You get into things like palmistry, alchemical readings, getting into other aspects of divining, such as crystal balls, be it a regular crystal ball or that of, say, a black onyx. Black onyx is good for demonic summonings. Crystal ball is more good for spiritual. Can be hereditary, even. I had a friend of mine a few years back. He was going to the mansion ministry, but he was one of those kind of guys that loved the alcohol. He really loved the alcohol. He lived in this one bedroom apartment, which was federal housing at the time. He got real interested in what I do. So I ended up going to his place one night. He had the curtains closed. It was about, roughly about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. He brought out this paperweight, a crystal. Just a crystal. It was like one of those, not like a crystal ball, but more like you know how you put Play-Doh in your hand and you try to flatten it out, but also try to keep it round. Kind of like you would in art class with clay. Same exact thing. I used his candle. This is his stuff. And I sat there, gazed into it while that candle flame was hitting off of it, getting in tune with these energies. And I told him things that scared him straight. The guy is now an adept in voodooism. His lineage goes back to New Orleans voodoo, 17th century. His ancestral lineage goes all the way back to the late 17th century. I got him introduced into the African traditions And today he's actually flourishing, and it's been 7 years. 7 years since I helped him out, since I did this. I stood there afterwards out in the parking lot with vehicles coming from behind me, and I was telling them, I told him point blank what kind of vehicle it was. It was very funny because of the fact that I kept it simple. Let's talk headlights. Sit there, one headlight, two headlights, 6 cars, 2 cars. And sure enough, here they'd come and drive right past me, past us. You see, when you become acquainted with this type of sorcery, divination, you can do a lot, even in necromancy. Conjuration versus reanimation. Same exact thing. Conjuration is calling forth spirits. Reanimation is bringing those spirits back into a body, if not their own bodies. But you have to become acquainted with those energies. You have to connect to them, learn to manipulate them. And the best way to start is internally. Okay? A book that I would recommend that was written very, very great, in my opinion, in this specific area for those of you who are neophytes, beginners, is that of the Inner Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penziak. Okay? Very, very good book. Even his third book, The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft, deals more with your subconscious, your alpha state of mind frame, and the various different degrees of the mind. Not only are you going to get connected with the currents, but you're going to have complete mastery over your own mind. Okay? Not just building up psychic defenses and learning reversal and protection magics, like, say, Jason Miller. Okay? Another great practitioner, a man that I respect. Okay? You can get into other types of sorcery as well, such as tea leaf reading. Get into the 7 forbidden arts, geomancy, hydromancy, pyromancy, chiromancy, okay? Aeromancy. Not just necromancy or chiromancy, but, I can't even speak tonight. Spatulomancy, okay? Very, very good stuff. And spatulomancy is the definition of the bones, the backbones, not just on animals, but also on humans. Okay? Bone readings, bone sorcery, okay, such as bones utilized for in the same mannerism as that of runes. Very, very good. But you got to go into the old myths and the old legends, the old folk tales and wives' tales. You got to really delve into it and get to know the system that you're getting into. How far are you willing to get into it? Blood sorcery is another very potent source of spiritual conjuration. It is very potent in your magic. It doesn't just make it explode with power, but it also makes it a stronger connection. But again, you got to understand this stuff. You got to do your own research. Why was blood sorcery attached to necromancy 500 years ago? Why is it considered part of gothcraft today? You have two different methods of it. Okay, you have what is known as bloodletting. Okay, bloodletting is a controlled method of draining blood from either a corpse, like pathology, medical definition of blood drawing, or that of, say, an animal that you find in the woods that's already deceased, human even. A lot of the old traditions, such as Haitian voodoo, African voodoo, or that of Slavic or Balk or even Germanic traditions deal in blood sorcery. They deal in black magic and divination, chiromancy, the whole kit and caboodle, which is why divination is the third characteristic of how defining witchcraft was implemented. Third, witchcraft, necromancy, and divination. Okay? First three clarifications of what witchcraft is. It's all right, Arata. This video will be here on YouTube for a long time. Well, as long as the channel lasts. So, you don't have to worry. Same with anyone else that's having issues with their internet connection. It's understandable with this time of the year and what's been going on. And Julia, welcome to the channel. Tarja, Taru. And that I concur with. It will last. Seeking Serpent, Judy Carter, Miss B, Shelly333. Did I miss anybody? Mila XO. Lord Hades. Welcome back. Let's see. Anyone else? I think I got everybody by the looks. Oh, no, I did not. I missed one. Custom made incense. Welcome to the channel. And I do agree with you. This channel will last because you have so many practitioners coming together to share their experience and their knowledge. You know, I always believe that knowledge and experience speaks for itself. It's not about showboating, and it's not about subscribers. It's not about any of that stuff. But that's just me. Okay. I prefer, and also blood of bats. Welcome to the channel. It's your first live chat, huh? Cool. And Bailey Forsyth, how you doing? So, anyways, as I was saying, you have so many different people coming together to make this channel work. So it is going to last. You guys coming forth through intuition, through actual practices. You got those from scholarly, knowledge base wise, and actual practice. Myself, I got 30 years in the occult, various different systems to be precise. More so, I'm also a minister, an ordained minister, okay, within quite a few traditions. Sometimes it gets you into trouble with the right hand path, like the American Fellowship or the UU, for an example, if you like to go through those organizations because of the difference in titles that they have a issue with because they're different from the JCI. But that is not to be, that's to be, basically, I should say that's to be expected. But when it comes to this aspect, divination, practice makes perfect. The more you work with it, the more you get familiar with the currents, learning to identify the colors or the different energetic fields that you can tap into, the more powerful you will become in your type of sorcery. So really delve into that. Okay? The ranks and titles is something that you earn over the years. And a lot of people unfortunately think it's a game and they're only in it for the money. It's not about money. It's not about fame and fortune. It's about the arts. It's about the spirits. It's about communing with them. And that's what divination is about. It is about working side by side with spirits, no matter what source they are: jinn, demon, angelic, fae, folklore, beings, demonic, Ugan, Loa. It's about communing with them. It's about mastering the currents of yourself and what's around you, and a lot more. So with that said, I'm going to call this video a night. And my next video will be based off something that I know a lot of you will love, and it's called possession. And that is the final aspect of divining what witchcraft is. Okay? If you've liked the first three and learned from it, awesome. I hope you have. And I hope that you actually go out and actually study for yourselves, not because somebody else tells you to. Okay? I hope that you go out and you learn for yourselves. And with that said, you can always reach me either here or on my Facebook page. If you contact me through Messenger, give me a few days, maybe a couple of months, because I keep forgetting there's another portion to that. Okay, so I'm not very good with technology, but still, I will always reply to you. And I know that Alfredo, Carrie, DH, and Uriel will all do the same. Even Cat. Okay? We all will get back to you and answer your questions and to help guide you. All right? So with that said, have a good night. I want to thank everybody who has appeared and participated in this video and all the other videos. Awesome to have you here. And until next time, I will see you back here next week. All right? Have a good night.